The night my dad called to me from the garage, he was 3 states away. I am 28. I live in the top half of my parents' split level while they travel. My bedroom sits over the garage. The attic hatch hangs over the garage bay. The main return vent is on my bedroom wall. I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on mute. I woke to my name. Not a knock, not a creak. My name. It came from the floor under me. "Bring the light," the voice said. It sounded like my dad. It had the same gravel, the same breath at the end of my name. I sat up. I felt dumb at first. I had talked to him at 9. Still, I walked the hall. I hit the lights. I stepped through the mudroom and turned the garage switch. The bulbs took a second to warm. I smelled oil and cold air. No one stood there. Tools hung on the pegboard. The hood of my dad's truck was down. The red tool chest was shut. I checked the side door. It was locked. I backed toward the door to the house. The socket hit concrete. The sound hit the empty space and bounced. I froze. My eyes went to the attic hatch. It sat flush. Dust sat on the cover. I watched that dust for movement and heard nothing. I closed the door to the house and locked it. I went to my room and grabbed my phone. My call woke my dad on the second ring. "I'm in Iowa," he said. "What's wrong?" "I just heard you in the garage," I said. We both went quiet. I could hear the motel heater on his end. On my end, the return vent hummed. It hummed loud. "Bring the drill," the voice said. Came from the vent. It was not my dad. I dragged my bed from the wall. I held my ear to the grill. Voices do weird things in old ducks. This was not that. Air blew on my face. Smelled dust and something like old food. I saw tape on the inside of the grill. Tape held a small black shape. I reached through the slats, but could not grab it. I took a flathead from the junk drawer. I knelt and cracked 2 screws. That was when the garage door under me let out a dry pop. It moved against wood. I felt it through the floor. I looked down the hall. The attic hatch in the hall was not tight. It hung off one corner. Insulation dust fell on the floor under it. I backed into my room and locked my door. I told my dad to hang on. I put 911 on speaker. My hand shook so bad that I dropped the phone twice. Something scraped across the roof. Not feet, not steps. Long drag. The scrape stopped over my room. The return vent hummed low. The voice came through again. Softer. "Bring the light." It hit me then. Someone was feeding audio to a speaker in my wall. Dispatch told me to stay in my room. The siren near us takes time. I stared at the attic hatch. I pushed my dresser under it just in case. I shut my bedroom lights and stood by the door with a hammer. I waited. Another drag. The ladder on the side yard. I had not put a ladder out. Someone had moved one from the shed. The sirens came fast after that. Oh, red and blue flashed across the ceiling. Boots hit the porch. Cop called my name. I opened my door and waved him in. 2 officers cleared the hall and the garage. One stood under the attic hatch and pointed a light. I watched from my doorway. Ladder in the yard, one said. "Gable vent is bent." They popped the attic cover and went up. Fiberglass fell. Fine dust drifted in the hall light. It hung in the air like smoke. They came down with a small black speaker and a phone. The speaker had tape on one side. The tape had fibers from a vent filter stuck to it. The phone screen showed my dad in a video file from last year. He had the grill on his lap and called me from the door to bring a drill. You could hear my name clear. "There's a bedroll up there," an officer said. "Foil blanket. Wrapper water." He was up here for a bit. They found the ladder behind the shed. They found fresh rub marks on the EV near the gable vent. The vent screen was cut. The garage door header had a shoe print, size I did not wear. They left the speaker on our table, stared at it. I tried not to think about how long it had sat in my wall. The smell in the duct made more sense. Someone had been up there. He ate up there. He watched me through the return vent. In the morning, I checked the upstairs bath. My toothbrush was damp. I had not brushed since dinner. In the garage, I found a socket under the truck. It was not from our set. The size was metric. My dad uses SAE. I sleep with the attic hatch pinned now. I taped the vents shut and had a tech clean the ducts. He pulled lint, nails, 1 coin, and a scrap of cloth. It was from one of my dad's old work shirts. I stared at that scrap for a long time. The words "bring the light" still sit in my head. It's the sound of my name, and that voice does too. Someone up there found a way to make my house calm me down. The deadbolt thumb turned on its own. I watched it from 10 feet. It gave a slow half-turn. The chain held the door. I was 16. I was home on a Saturday with the dog. My parents were at the hospital with my aunt. Our place sits out by the old quarry. No street lights. One neighbor across the field. The house has a front door with a chain and a deadbolt, a side mudroom door with a key knob and a deadbolt, a slider on the deck, and a bulkhead door to the basement. I killed the TV. I kept my eyes on the door. The thumb moved again. Metal ticked against metal when the chain caught. "Who is there?" I asked the wood. No answer. The thumb went back the other way, as if someone pulled the key out. The porch light was on. The peephole showed a black corner of jacket. Whoever it was stood too close. I stood very still. The dog made a small growl, and then went silent like she knew. The back motion light came on. The slider creaked. A shape moved on the deck. I kept my feet planted. I grabbed my phone and hit 911. The operator picked up. I gave my street and said someone was at my doors. I heard soft steps on the deck. The slider jiggled. The latch held. The dog flinched at each shake. I held her collar to keep her from charging the glass. The house went dark. The kitchen light, the front lamp, all of it. I could still see the red of the router and the clock on the stove. I looked at the side of the house through the front window and saw a shadow at the meter base. The man had killed the breaker. I could hear the click from the panel outside. The operator told me to stay low and to move to a safe room. I picked the basement. I know that sounds strange, but the basement had a steel door on the bulkhead and a clear path to an egress window on the far wall. I grabbed my dad's old pipe wrench from the laundry shelf and opened the interior basement door. The dog went first. Her nails made that light clack on the steps. Halfway down, I heard the bulkhead door latch rattle, not the chain. The outside latch, the steel shook. It sounded loose. I switched plans. I went to the laundry room and pushed the dog in behind the washer. I slid into the space next to the water heater and used the wrench to pull the door tight behind me. I killed my phone screen. The pilot light gave a weak glow. I tried to slow my breath, but it still felt loud. Interior basement door opened. Hinges gave a small whine. Shoe hit the top step and then the next. He took his time. Steps creaked in order. My heart beat so hard I felt it behind my eyes. He reached the floor. He stood still, and I could tell by the way the air felt in the room. No talking, no cough, no hurry. He walked past the furnace and stopped at the laundry sink. He turned the faucet and then shut it. It was a dumb test to see if someone would run at the sound. It did not move. My phone buzzed in my hand. The operator checked on me. The man turned his head. I could hear the fabric on his jacket. He took 2 steps toward the water heater closet and then stopped. He put his fingers on the door and then let go. The door pulled against my wrench again. He tried it once more. He could have pried it. He did not. He backed away. He walked the room, opened the storage under the stairs. He opened the closet by the breaker. He stopped at the foot of the egress window. He placed something on the floor there, a small bag. He took it back up after a few seconds. My neighbor's truck came down our road, heard the gravel. He honked twice. The man climbed the stairs. Bulkhead door banged. The sound went through me. I stayed in the closet with the dog. The operator stayed on the line. The first patrol car pulled in. The officer came down and opened my door. I handed him the wrench like it was a prize he had to see. They searched the yard. They found a thin key blank on the porch. A bump key. They found pry marks on the slider. They found my breaker in the off position with a glove print on the cover. They found the bulkhead latch popped with a long, flat screwdriver. That latch had been weak for years. They found a duffel at the egress window. He had set it there and planned to grab it on the way out. Inside was rope, tape, zip ties, a small pry bar, and a mask. The officer looked at me when he pulled that stuff out. That look hurt more than the night. My dad fixed the bulkhead latch the next day. We added a bar to the slider and a latch guard to the front. I still watch that deadbolt thumb when I sit on the couch. I do not think about ghosts. I think about how the inside thumb moves when a key turns from the outside. I think about hands on the other side of my door. I saw a light under the kitchen sink door, and I did not own a light under there. It was 2 in the morning. The house was a rowhouse in the city. I am 23. I work nights and keep weird hours. I had been eating at the counter and scrolling on my phone. A fork in the sink scraped against a plate. It was not a loud scrape. It sounded like someone nudged it. I set the phone down. I said hello. My voice sounded small in the tile and glass. I walked to the sink and looked at the cabinet base. A narrow blue glow leaked at the bottom panel where the kick plate sets. I pulled the door. The light died. The space held bleach, sponges, an old trap, and a wide hole at the back of the cabinet where the drain drops into the wall. The hole had rough edges. Black dust ringed it. I shut the door. I stood still and listened. Cut the fan. I cut the fridge hum. The house went quiet. The basement light came on. I could see it through the crack at the basement door. I keep that door locked from my side. The switch sits at the bottom. No one had gone down. I put my ear to the door. A foot moved on concrete. My skin went ice cold. I backed to the hall and sent a text to the neighbor in the next row. He is a firefighter. He answered fast and said he was 5 minutes out. I called 911. The person in the basement walked to the stairs. The knob on my side jiggled. The lock held. A card slid between the door and the jamb. The latch clacked. The card did not clear it. The person tried again. The card tapped the strike plate. The person stopped. A voice came from the kitchen. It was my own voice. It came from the counter. Come down, it said. It bounced in the tile. My stomach turned. I had a small smart speaker on a shelf. Killed it months ago, but it had paired on its own, or someone had paired to it. I pulled the plug. The light under the sink came back. It was a pin light, like from a cheap headlamp. It trembled. The drain line shifted against the back of the cabinet. The wall behind it was not a wall. It was a thin cover into a chase that ran down into the vacant unit below. I ran to my room and dragged my dresser to the hall. I wedged it in front of the basement door. I kept 911 on the line. I had never felt that type of fear. It was not a movie kind. It was plain and heavy. The light under the sink moved. I heard breath from the cabinet. The wood bowed. Fingers pressed the panel from inside the chase. The person was not in the cabinet yet. The person was in the void behind it. He had cut from the empty unit below and used the drain and the gas line to climb. The front door rattled. My neighbor called my name through it. I opened it for 1 second and pulled him in. He brought a mag light and a radio. He did not say much. He walked to the kitchen and aimed the light at the toe kick. Banged the cabinet twice with the butt of the light. The light under the cabinet cut out. A dull scrape moved down inside the wall, toward the basement level. Police hit the porch. They moved past us and went for the basement door. It took 2 of them to clear my dresser and force the door open. They swept the stairs. I heard them move slow. The officer at the top used the kind of voice that makes people stop running. They found the bulkhead to the old coal room off its lock. In the empty unit below, they found a cut in the back of the kitchen cabinet that matched mine. They found a cheap Bluetooth speaker taped inside the chase. They found a phone and a sock. The phone held a few audio clips of me saying common words, clips from videos on my own social feed. Someone had scraped my voice, cut it into short lines, and used it to make the kitchen speak. It had one label on one clip, said "Come down." The officers found the marks from feet on the inside of the chase. They found a dirty bedroll under the basement steps. A bag with snacks and a pocket knife sat with it. Dust masked a lot of scent, but the dog unit hit on that bag right away. The person had sat in my house at hours I cannot place. He had watched through a pinhole in my kitchen. I found the pinhole behind the spice rack. I had looked at it every day. I had never seen it. The landlord sealed the chase with cement board and screws the next day. I pulled the smart speaker from the wall and put it in a bag for the police. So the vacant unit got a new lock and a bar across the back door. We added a latch guard to the basement bulkhead. I still hear that fork in the sink in my head at night. That scrape. I still see that small glow under the cabinet. I never found out how long he had used the chase. He knew my name and the sound of my voice. He made my own house talk to me and asked me to come down.